What's up guys? Welcome to part 2 of the Uchiha's way to conquering the Shinobi world. If you love part 1, drop a like down below, and while you are down there, subscribe to the page for the next part. With that guys, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
The Uchiha ninjas, who were moving towards the Konoha camp, were unaware of their fate and what they were going to face in the future. The Kurigaka ninjas, headed by Jinpachi, were waiting in ambush for the Uchiha clan members. Finally, when they saw the Uchiha clan members, Jinpachi said, "Now is the time to attack and eliminate them as soon as possible." With that, Jinpachi took the lead, utilizing the hiding in mist technique to launch a surprise attack on the Uchiha clan's Jonin, who was leading the group of 30 ninjas. The Uchiha Jonin became alert upon seeing the fog and swiftly activated his Sharingan. Just as his Sharingan awakened, he employed the body flicker technique, instantly vanishing from the spot. Seconds later, a tremendous explosion erupted where he had stood, shrouding the surroundings in a thick cloud of dust. Visibility plummeted, making it nearly impossible for the Uchiha Jonin to see. Emerging from the dust cloud, a sword wrapped in paper-like material slashed towards the Uchiha Jonin, causing his expression to change drastically. Reacting swiftly, he quickly evaded the sword and moved away. Another explosion ensued at the location he had just vacated. In a desperate bid to turn the tide of this blood-soaked confrontation, the remaining Uchiha clan members joined the fray, interweaving their skills with the Kurigaka ninjas in a desperate dance of life and death. However, the scales of fortune teetered precariously against the Uchiha clan's favor, for the Kurigaka had called upon the formidable might of 9 additional Jonin to bolster their ranks. The Uchiha ninjas, outnumbered and outmatched, faced an uphill battle against insurmountable odds. What initially seemed like a clash of warriors soon devolved into a harrowing display of carnage. As the Kurigaka ninjas systematically decimated the ranks of the Uchiha clan, their cold precision casting a grim shadow upon the fading hopes of the once proud Uchiha warriors. Undeterred by the overwhelming force aligned against him, the Uchiha Jonin engaged in a valiant struggle, employing his entire repertoire of devastating techniques in a desperate bid to quell the encroaching tide of destruction. From the blistering fury of the fire release, Great Fireball technique to the unleashed might of the fire release, Great Dragon Fire technique, he unleashed a torrent of elemental devastation. Alas, his efforts proved futile, for Jinpachi, a force unrivaled, danced nimbly between the flames, effortlessly evading each infernal assault. Compounding the Uchiha Jonin's tribulations, the ephemeral power of his Sharingan, an invaluable asset in any battle, was rendered impotent by the dense fog, robbing him of his enhanced perception and strategic advantage. Though he displayed unparalleled agility, adroitly evading Jinpachi's onslaught time and again, the shockwaves emanating from the explosive tags sowed seeds of debilitating pain, taking their toll on his battered form. Realizing that the fight was dragging on, Jinpachi utilized his sword to create a circle around the Uchiha Jonin, triggering a massive explosion. The blast was so immense that the Uchiha Jonin had no chance to evade, and was obliterated in an instant. With the demise of the Uchiha Jonin, the dissipating fog unveiled a somber tableau, revealing the lifeless forms of fallen Uchiha clan ninjas sprawled across the desolate battleground. In that poignant moment, the sensory ninja of Kurigaka detected a foreboding presence, causing his countenance to transform with apprehension. Approaching Jinpachi, he uttered, "Jinpachi-sama, a substantial number of ninjas have encircled us." "What? How many?" Jinpachi exclaimed, taken aback by the startling revelation. "Approximately 400 individuals have besieged us, effectively blocking our sole path of retreat," the sensory ninja conveyed with a hint of concern. Gradually, the figures of the surrounding ninjas materialized, revealing the imposing presence of Sarutobi Shinosuke, flanked by his formidable army. "Oh, look who we have here." Jinpachi Munashi, one of the mighty 7 swordsmen, leading such a massive team. "Pray tell, what brings you to this humble gathering?" Shinosuke remarked with a triumphant smirk on his face. "Shem PH, son of the Hokage, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be hiding in your cozy tent?" Jinpachi Munashi retorted, dripping with disdain as he directed his voice towards Shinosuke. "Oh, how delightful. I've graced this occasion with the sole intention of making today the very last day of your pitiful existence," Shinosuke proclaimed, his voice dripping with scorn. With a grandiose flourish, Shinosuke gestured towards the Jonin at his side, who nodded in obedient agreement. In perfect synchrony, Shinosuke's army unleashed a barrage of kunai, each meticulously adorned with explosive tags, causing a symphony of sizzling sounds as they ignited. Witnessing this onslaught, Jinpachi barked out orders, desperation tainting his voice. "Quick, utilize water-style techniques and erect a protective wall of water." The Jonin, swift in their response, wasted no time. Even before receiving the explicit command from Jinpachi, they unleashed an array of water release techniques, conjuring forth a formidable barrier to shield their comrades. However, despite their efforts, a multitude of explosive tags managed to breach the watery fortifications, resulting in a cacophony of detonations. In this initial clash, the Kurigaka forces suffered a devastating blow, as almost 40 ninjas perished in the explosive chaos. Finally, the effects of the explosive tags subsided, and everything became clear. Jinpachi didn't hesitate and ordered, use the hidden in the mist technique, spread out, and employ the silent killing technique to eliminate these bastards. As soon as Jinpachi's words fell, the Kurigaka ninjas swiftly acted upon his command. The entire area was enveloped in fog, obstructing the vision of the Sarutobi clan members. However, Shinosuke wasn't one to be outdone, and ordered the use of wind release to dissipate this hidden in the fog technique. The Sarutobi clan members, proficient in wind release, utilized wind ninjutsu, with many employing the powerful wind release big breakthrough technique. This caused a significant amount of fog to dissipate. However, this brief respite was enough for the Kurigaka ninjas to close in on the Konoha ninjas. Subsequently, both sides collided, resulting in numerous casualties every minute. The battle primarily involved low-level ninjas, namely Genins and Chunins. On the other hand, the fight between Jonins was markedly different. While the number of Jonins varied, the Jonins and Chunins of Kurigaka always fought on the edge of their lives. In contrast, the Jonins and Chunins of Sarutobi and other Konoha elder clans were consistently protected. As a result, they were clearly inferior to the ninjas from Kurigaka, leading to a surprising scene. Despite the numerical difference between Kurigaka and Konoha, the advantage always belonged to the ninjas from Kurigaka, be it Genin, Chunin, or Jonin. Upon witnessing this, Shinosuke's expression turned grim. He was currently engrossed in combat with Jinpachi, being a direct Anbu member under the Hokage. His fighting abilities were not inferior, but if the situation continued in this manner, they would inevitably suffer defeat. His only option now was to eliminate Jinpachi and crush the morale of the Kurigaka ninjas completely. Jinpachi attacked Shinosuke with his sword, and in response, Shinosuke used a standard short sword to defend himself. Witnessing this, Jinpachi grinned cruelly and taunted, "You don't even know that getting close to my sword is the biggest mistake." With a sudden explosion, an explosive tag went off, engulfing Shinosuke. However, it turned out that the Shinosuke who exploded was merely a mud clone. Jinpachi was startled by this unexpected turn of events. He hadn't anticipated Shinosuke's use of a clone. After a moment of contemplation, Jinpachi came to a realization and said, "You used the Earth style shadow clone the moment we used the hidden mist technique, right?" Searching for Shinosuke, Jinpachi scanned the area but found no trace of him. Shinosuke seized the opportunity and appeared suddenly from the left side of Jinpachi. Employing Earth Release, Earth Flow River, he dragged Jinpachi towards himself, gaining a favorable position. Capitalizing on his advantageous position, Shinosuke unleashed his next move. Utilizing Earth Release, Earth Dragon Bullet, a dragon-shaped head formed from which mud balls were continuously bombarded in Jinpachi's direction. However, Jinpachi wasn't one to be outdone. He swung his sword with great intensity, causing explosions that successfully obliterated the mud balls hurtling towards him. The clash between Shinosuke and Jinpachi intensified as they engaged in a fierce battle, each determined to gain the upper hand. Shinosuke, undeterred by the situation, pressed on with his attack. Infusing wind chakra into his short sword, he launched a series of strikes against Jinpachi, engaging him in close quarters combat. Shinosuke deliberately avoided Jinpachi to prevent being caught in the explosions caused by the explosive tags. Thus, the fight continued, but the number of ninjas from both sides steadily dwindled. Observing the diminishing numbers, Shinosuke contemplated the idea of retreating. However, Jinpachi held an entirely different perspective. He had only one objective in mind: to kill Shinosuke. He showed little concern for the lives of his subordinates, relentlessly launching attacks against Shinosuke. As a result, Shinosuke found himself in a helpless position and finally voiced his thoughts, saying, "It's disadvantageous for both of us. We should retreat, otherwise we will suffer heavy losses." Unfazed by Shinosuke's plea, Jinpachi remained steadfast in his determination to eliminate him. The battle continued unabated, devoid of extensive ninjutsu usage. Both combatants relied mainly on taijutsu, utilizing their physical prowess. Jinpachi refrained from using detonation symbols excessively, aware of their limited supply and the need to preserve them as backup. A ninja cannot exhaust all their methods, as they may have to retreat at any moment. Finally, the combined forces of both armies numbered less than 250, and exhaustion weighed heavily on both sides. Even Jinpachi began contemplating the idea of retreating. However, just as they were considering issuing the order to retreat, a massive red barrier suddenly enveloped the entire area, trapping them inside. The presence of the barrier instantly transformed the expressions on everyone's faces. In a state of confusion, one of the genin who was in close proximity to the barrier instinctively reached out and touched it. Instantly, without the opportunity to struggle, he was incinerated. Witnessing this horrific event, the expressions on Shinosuke's and Jinpachi's faces changed as they realized they had been lured into a trap. Both Jinpachi and Shinosuke shared the same thought that it might have been Tsunagika who seized the opportunity amidst the conflict and launched an attack, inflicting significant losses upon them. As they pondered over the identity of the culprit who had trapped them, a sudden emergence of several individuals sprang forth from the ground. Each of these individuals had their Sharingan activated, and as they took their place on the ground, a large contingent of Uchiha clan ninjas emerged from the very holes created by these mysterious figures. "Uchiha clan," exclaimed Jinpachi and Shinosuke, their faces filled with shock. Their gaze fell upon a young boy with white hair, his Sharingan blazing with intensity as he stood in the center, his countenance icy and unwavering. As his cold eyes locked onto both Jinpachi and Shinosuke, a wave of apprehension washed over them, causing cold sweat to trickle down their brows. They knew all too well the identity of this person, Uchiha Karen, a force to be reckoned with. Shinosuke calmed down and took a step back from Jinpachi. He looked at Uchiha Karen from a distance and said, "Uchiha Karen, it's good that you created a barrier around. Now it's impossible for these Kurigaka ninjas to escape. Sarutobi Shinosuke, son of the Hokage, are you truly a fool or are you merely pretending to be one?" Karen responded, his voice devoid of any emotion. "What are you talking about? What do you mean by that?" Shinosuke asked, his expression turning displeased. "After you conspired to kill members of my Uchiha clan, do you honestly believe I would save you in any way?" Uchiha Karen calmly replied. Then, he turned his gaze toward the Uchiha clan ninjas and stated, "They are now exhausted, and even if they were not, if you were to perish at the hands of weakened opponents, you would not deserve to be called Uchiha." As Karen's commanding voice echoed through the air, sending ripples of anticipation among the Uchiha clan ninjas, they immediately sprang into action with unparalleled agility. Their synchronized movements mirrored the meticulous planning they had undertaken prior to this momentous battle. Like a well-oiled machine, they swiftly formed a united front ready to unleash their formidable skills upon their adversaries. Utilizing a potent combination of fire release techniques and expertly executed throwing maneuvers, the Uchiha warriors unleashed a relentless assault. Their flames danced with deadly precision, engulfing their opponents in a blazing inferno, while projectiles soared through the air with unerring accuracy. The chaos that had consumed the ninjas from Kurigaka and Konoha during their internal conflicts had left them weary and depleted, rendering them vulnerable to the Uchiha's calculated onslaught. Only a handful managed to summon the strength to defend themselves, as the majority succumbed to the overwhelming force of the Uchiha clan's ferocious first wave of attack. Amidst the chaos and destruction, Shinosuke, his face etched with fury, directed his rage-filled gaze towards Karen, a pillar of defiance in the midst of the turmoil. His voice resonated with a mix of incredulity and outrage as he bellowed, "Uchiha Karen, are you intending to rebel by orchestrating such a heinous act?" A wry smile curved Karen's lips as he met Shinosuke's gaze, unyielding in the face of confrontation. "Rebel? But my dear son of Hokage, rebellion is only realized if this secret endeavor were to reach the ears of the higher-ups, wouldn't you agree?" He retorted, his voice dripping with mockingly subtle sarcasm. His eyes glinted with an unwavering confidence, challenging anyone to question his audacious actions. "Nevertheless, let us ponder a profound question, my friend. Can anyone truly escape the clutches of this meticulously woven web you find yourselves in?" After uttering his words with conviction, Karen leaped agilely into the abyss, where a multitude of highly skilled ninjas from Kurigaka and Konoha eagerly awaited his arrival. With unwavering determination, he firmly grasped his gleaming katana, ready to engage in a deadly dance. Drawing upon his mastery of the water-breathing third form, flowing dance, Karen seamlessly glided through the adversaries, his movements mirroring the graceful flow of a serene river. As if wielding the power of a torrential current, Karen effortlessly dispatched any ninja foolish enough to challenge him. In their futile attempts to strike back or defend themselves, the ninjas met their demise swiftly, their lives extinguished as easily as a flickering flame. The body count rose exponentially as Karen, fueled by an unyielding purpose, continued his merciless assault. Notwithstanding Karen's formidable prowess, he was not alone in this perilous endeavor. His loyal subordinates, motivated by a shared purpose, sprang into action alongside him. Like a synchronized symphony of destruction, they too embarked on a ruthless rampage, cutting down their foes with calculated precision. Together, they unleashed chaos upon the battlefield, each strike adding to the mounting casualties. Meanwhile, Jinpachi and Shinosuke, spectators to this carnage, viewed the unfolding spectacle from different perspectives. Jinpachi, burdened with the weight of his own predicament, felt a profound sense of relief. This respite allowed him to replenish his dwindling chakra, offering a glimmer of hope for his eventual triumph or escape from Karen's clutches. In stark contrast, Shinosuke, the son of the Hokage, experienced a mix of anguish and admiration. Despite the anguish that permeated his heart, he recognized the sacrifice of those fighting on his behalf. In their valiant efforts to secure his survival, they embodied the noble spirit of selflessness, and the unwavering resolve known as the true will of fire. Thus, in the midst of pain and sorrow, a glimmer of hope emerged, fueled by the belief that their sacrifices would lead to a greater good. Finally, after a tense span of 10 minutes, only approximately 50 skilled ninjas from both Kurigaka and Konoha remained on the battlefield. Karen made the decision to leave his subordinates and Uchiha comrades to confront the remaining opponents. At that precise moment, Karen's commanding presence caught the attention of Shinosuke, who swiftly approached Jinpachi with a proposition. He uttered in a hushed tone, "You are well aware, as am I, of Uchiha Karen's formidable power. It is an insurmountable task to defeat him in a one-on-one battle. Therefore, why don't we join forces and face him together?" Jinpachi, his face etched with skepticism, responded with a hint of disdain, "HMPH. Conquering him seems implausible, considering his previous triumph over 3 members of the 7 swordsmen, eliminating 2 of them, while they were at the pinnacle of their abilities. Moreover, we find ourselves weakened after our recent skirmish. Do you genuinely believe we stand a chance?" Uchiha Karen himself stated it. "Either you are a fool or pretend to be one." In the distance, Uchiha Karen continued his steady approach. He paused, clutching his katana tightly as a swirling aura of thunder enveloped his being. Suddenly, with a forceful stomp, the ground beneath him fractured under the sheer intensity of Thunder Breathing's first form, Godspeed. In a flash, he vanished from sight, leaving behind nothing but a streak of electric blue light. Jinpachi's battle-honed instincts instantly kicked in, prompting him to swiftly raise his sword in anticipation of the imminent danger. Just as he assumed his defensive stance, Karen materialized before him, the clash of their blades sending reverberations through the air. Although Jinpachi managed to evade direct harm from Karen's ferocious strike, the sheer impact propelled him backward, his feet sliding against the unforgiving terrain, until he collided forcefully with a massive stone structure. Shinosuke seized the opportunity at hand and skillfully unleashed the formidable Earth Release. Fist Rock technique, launching a powerful attack. Not one to back down, Karen's determination surged as he tightly clenched his fist, channeling the Earth Release. Earth Spear. As his hand transformed into a dark manifestation, an aura of chakra enveloped it, intensifying its impact. With unwavering resolve, Karen delivered a resounding punch towards Shinosuke. In an explosive clash, the force of their colliding fists reverberated through the air, shattering the rock covering Shinosuke's hand into countless fragments, while leaving his own hand grievously broken. Grimacing in pain, Shinosuke cradled his shattered hand, his astonishment evident as he uttered in disbelief, quote, "Chakra-enhanced strength. But how is this even possible?" Maintaining his composure, Karen responded with a serene expression, his voice resonating with confidence. "Why would it be deemed impossible? Even someone as skilled as myself, who comprehends the mechanics of this chakra-enhanced strength, would find it challenging to master." Blast Word technique. Blasting bridle, repeating death. In that precise moment, Jinpachi, who had been embedded in the stone, was finally freed and unraveled a considerable length of the explosive tag roll from his shibuki. With deftness, he utilized it to create a cunning trap, encircling Karen in a circular motion, effectively severing any potential escape routes he might have sought. Without wasting a second, Karen swiftly clapped his hands together, summoning the power of Water Release. Water Formation Pillar. In an instant, a towering pillar of water enveloped his entire form, shielding him from the imminent explosion. As the fiery energy of the explosive tag subsided, both Jinpachi and Shinosuke observed with bated breath, their eyes fixated on the outcome. Yet, to their dismay, Karen emerged unscathed, his breathing slightly labored due to the exhaustive exertion of his chakra. With a composed demeanor, Karen steadied himself, firmly gripping his katana as he assumed a battle-ready stance. In a fluid motion, he executed the thunder-breathing first form, Thunderclap and Flash. Like a bolt of lightning, he vanished from his original position, reappearing with uncanny swiftness directly behind Jinpachi. In a mesmerizing display of precision, he sheathed his katana in one swift motion, causing Jinpachi's head to be forcefully severed from his body. The headless remnants tumbled to the ground in separate trajectories, an unsettling sight that left Shinosuke trembling and instinctively clutching his own neck, consumed by a wave of cold sweat. This time, Jinpachi found himself unable to react swiftly to Uchiha Karen's swift maneuver. He had already sustained injuries from the impactful collision with a large stone, leaving him in a weakened state. Moreover, his last technique had drained his chakra reserves, leaving him devoid of the energy necessary to mount a defense. Consequently, Jinpachi's inability to react effectively led to his demise. Shinosuke instinctively took a step backward, each movement mirroring Karen's advance. He felt compelled to assert his identity, exclaiming, "You are well aware of my father's identity. Rest assured, you will not escape unpunished," with unwavering determination in his voice. Karen, taken aback by Shinosuke's words, "I wasn't expecting you to come anyway. I thought maybe the son of Koharu or Hamura would come to the rescue." but it's you. I can't express how satisfied I am, retorted Karen with a smile etched upon his face. It was the first time Karen had displayed any sign of amusement throughout their arduous battle. Yet, for Shinosuke, that smile bore the unmistakable aura of the devil, a sinister harbinger of his impending doom. With his chakra almost depleted and his hand fractured, Shinosuke realized that resorting to ninjutsu would prove futile in his confrontation with Karen. Faced with insurmountable odds, he grasped his final option, biting his finger and summoning forth his contracted ape. Though he couldn't summon Enma, the ape with whom he had forged a bond was still at his disposal. However, before Shinosuke could complete the summoning, Karen swiftly swung his katana, severing Shinosuke's hand, prematurely ending his desperate attempt. Shinosuke said, "My father will not let you go." As soon as these words escaped Shinosuke's lips, his head soared in the sky. "We will see who will let go of whom." "He touched someone he shouldn't have," said Karen while sheathing his katana. Karen then surveyed the entire battlefield where nothing but corpses of Kurigaka, Sarutobi, and other clans remained. There were also a few corpses of Uchiha clan members who had come with Karen. He turned to everyone and said, "Collect the bodies of all the Uchiha clan members who came with us, open the barrier, and leave the battlefield. Shrink the barrier." As soon as Karen's voice fell, one side of the barrier was opened, and all the Uchiha clan members took the bodies of the Uchiha clan members who had followed Karen into battle. They left the battlefield while the remaining corpses lay there. After everyone left, the barrier closed again and began to shrink. As the barrier shrank, everything in its path was completely incinerated. Finally, as the barrier dissipated completely, the four exhausted Uchiha Jonins, who had valiantly upheld the Uchiha flame formation, collapsed onto the ground. Their labored breaths a testament to the immense strain they endured. Fatigue painted their faces, yet a glimmer of triumph shone in their weary eyes. They had accomplished what they set out to do, avenge their fallen master, albeit indirectly, but their conviction fueled their satisfaction, surpassing any doubts that may have lingered. "Let's leave immediately," Karen urged, a sense of urgency in his voice, as there may be ninjas on their way to verify the current situation of the battle. With Karen's words still hanging in the air, the Uchiha clan ninjas wasted no time and swiftly departed from the location, leaving behind any doubts or hesitation. Those who had sustained injuries were carefully carried, while the fallen were reverently sealed within the confines of a sealing scroll. In this meticulous manner, the entire area was swiftly evacuated by the Uchiha clan members. Eventually, when the teams from Konoha and Kurigake conducted their investigation, they made a startling discovery. It appeared that a mysterious third party had intervened in the battle between Kurigake and Konoha, displaying an exceptional mastery of fire release techniques. Naturally, the Uchiha clan immediately sprang to mind as the prime suspects. However, to their surprise, the Uchiha clan was nowhere to be found, and no conclusive evidence could be uncovered to support their involvement. The news of what happened here reached the ears of Yagura, who was guarding the rear with the rest of the 7 ninja swordsmen and waiting for Uchiha Karen's attack. "Damn it, we lost so many ninjas from our village in such a short span of time." At that moment, Fuguki Tsukazan entered the tent and threw a scroll to Yagura. Yagura took the scroll and read it. "Where did you get this information from?" "I received this information from one of my trusted subordinates. But before I could ask him further, he was killed by a ninja. I tried to intercept him, but he was able to fight me on equal footing. He had 3 Tomo Sharingan and a weapon similar to Jinin Akabino's. He must be Uchiha Mitsuda, a direct subordinate. Not only that, but another person, no weaker than him, also arrived and declared the mission a failure before leaving. So I was only able to retrieve this information from the scroll given by my subordinate," explained Fuguki. "No wonder Uchiha Karen didn't arrive here," said Yagura. "They plan not only to let our ninjas die, but also to seek revenge on the Hokage faction's family for tipping us off with the information. Well done, Uchiha Karen. You truly are a formidable opponent." After that, this news was circulated among the high-ranking individuals in Kurigaka. As soon as the news became known, the Kurigaka ninjas were furious and ready for revenge. However, this cannot be done without discussion among the higher-ups. Firstly, the news needs to be sent to the Mizukage, and only after receiving further orders can they proceed. Following this, Yagura left the rear, which was guarded by 1 elite Jonin and 5 Jonins, as it was before. Finally, in the middle of the night, 15 silhouettes appeared on the tree. The Sharingan in everyone's eyes gave an eerie and evil feeling. "All of you know what to do. Kill as many as possible without alarming them, and I will destroy the supplies," said the ninja in front, who seemed to be the leader of the group. As soon as the leader's voice fell, the ninjas scattered, and a fast and silent killing spree began in the middle of the night. The elite Jonin who was guarding the supplies became alert. Something is not right. "Guards, come inside." But there was no response. The elite Jonin immediately drew his sword, ready for an attack. "Well, what would you expect from an elite Jonin? You have quite sharp senses," came a voice. The elite Jonin immediately attacked in the direction from where he heard the voice. Ding, the sound of metal clashing was heard, and he saw a man covered in black cloth with his Sharingan activated. Uchiha clan. His eyes became sluggish, and the opposing Uchiha clan ninja didn't give the Kurigake elite ninja a chance, killing him with a simple strike from his katana. I take back my words. You are a fool. How can you attack someone just based on their voice? But anyway, you made my work easier. The goods were marked with explosive tags by Karen. After he killed the elite Jonin, the same ninjas finally showed up one by one at the same location from where they started, after the operation had been underway for 30 minutes. Did you accomplish your job perfectly? The leader questioned. Yes, there are just a few Kurigaka ninjas still alive, and explosive tags have been hidden nearly everywhere in this recamp, one of the ninjas admitted. Now, do it. With that, the leader made a hand seal, and similarly, the other 5 also made hand seals. As a result, the whole rear camp was filled with explosions. Boom, boom. This noise served as an alarm for the rest of the Kurigaka ninjas, who immediately started moving in this direction. Meanwhile, the black-clad culprits swiftly left the place without wasting any time. Finally, Yugura showed there with a strong group of Kurigaka ninjas. Fury erupted within him like a raging inferno, as he scanned the devastated remnants of their crucial supplies. He shouted with clenched hands, "Look in every crevice and corner. I demand to know who committed this heinous crime." A flurry of quick motions filled the air as each ninja sprung into action in answer to Yugura's order. After meticulously looking for hours, a lone ninja who was carrying a crumpled piece of paper finally approached Yugura. The ninja handed it to their enraged boss with a courteous bow. "This is the letter that I found hidden beneath the dead body of a fallen Kurigaka comrade, Yugura-sama. The text is encoded in a difficult language. Please give it a close look." Yugura took the letter and glanced quickly over its elaborate markings. He scowled with a mixture of rage and trepidation. Through clenched teeth, he mumbled Uchiha clan again, his annoyance clear in his voice. Standing next to Yugura, Fuguki leaned out and delicately took the letter. His intellect analyzed the message's encrypted content as his eyes skimmed over its puzzling lines. Fuguki said with dread, red-eyed, black clothing, "More than one." Yugura's face was covered in realization, which was mixed with his rage. He spoke in an angry manner. "It appears that we have unintentionally walked right into another of their cunning traps. The intentional attack was planned by Uchiha Karen and his evil minions, who used the murder of your subordinate as a distraction. They wanted us to think that he was being sought after for stolen information, and might even have been caught up in a genjutsu. Did you not have a chance to check his state of mind?" Fuguki responded, "No, he was one of my most trusted subordinates, and time restrictions forced me to overlook such investigation." His expression was clouded with regret as he said this. Yugura's fury was unchecked as the weight of their adversaries' devious tactics pressed down on him. He snarled furiously, "Curse you, Uchiha Karen," with a tone of disdain in his voice. "What course of action do we take now, Yugura?" Fuguki urgently asked in the midst of the difficult situation. Yugura's resolve did not waver as his eyes tightened. "Send the Mizukage this distressing information right away. We must wait for new orders because our manpower and resources are severely exhausted. Fighting without sufficient supplies would be foolish," with a firmness that tolerated no disagreement, he stated. At midnight in Konoha, Hiruzen was asleep with his wife when suddenly there was a knock on the door. Hiruzen woke up, went to the door, and opened it to find Danzo standing there. Hiruzen's wife Biwa also came and saw Danzo. She simply nodded and began to leave to prepare tea for both of them, but Danzo stopped her, saying, "You should listen to what I have to say as well." Biwa was confused by the situation, as she usually didn't involve herself in the politics of Konoha, and would typically step away during discussions with higher-ranking officials. "Danzo, why have you come to my house so late?" asked Hiruzen. "There is news from the battlefield. Your son has died," said Danzo calmly. "What? But how is that possible? The battlefield has been calm without any major battles. Did Sunagaka and Kurigaka form an alliance to attack our Konoha camp?" asked Hiruzen with a serious expression. "No, your son received information from the spy you planted in the Uchiha clan. It stated that Uchiha Karen was planning to attack the rear of Kurigaka in order to provoke a war. Those who disagreed with him were sent away. Nearly 200 ninjas from Kurigaka were attacking the Uchiha clan, taking advantage of the perfect location where Kurigaka couldn't send reinforcements. Your son decided to ambush them and engage in battle, leaving with almost twice the number of ninjas in every aspect. However, during the battle, a third party intervened. From our investigation, we are certain it was the work of the Uchiha clan, but there is insufficient evidence to support it. Your son's body was found among them, badly burned, with his head separated from his body," explained Danzo. Biwa listened to everything, and upon hearing the final part of Danzo's conversation, she went into her room with tears welling up in her eyes. After Biwa left, Hiruzen's expression turned cold, and he sternly addressed Danzo, saying, "Danzo, you may play your tricks in various places, but do not dare to bring them into my family. If there is a next time, I will forget our friendship and show you the extent of my wrath when I am truly angered." Hiruzen was no fool. He understood that Danzo had specifically come to his house to inform Biwa about their son's death, hoping to manipulate her into pressuring him to take drastic measures. Danzo saw this as an opportunity to seize power and eliminate the Uchiha clan. I wanted to clear those Sarutobi clan members whom the Uchiha police force captured, but didn't have a proper reason. I don't want to create an image of a strict person in my clan. So when the Uchiha police force captured them, it was a good chance to bring down Takoma from his high position in the Uchiha clan and clean those trash. But crossing the line to kill my son, Uchiha Karen, went too far, said Sarutobi Hiruzen with a cold face. Danzo wasn't surprised by this because this was the real face of Hiruzen. Maybe Takoma is also involved, said Danzo. No, he would not sacrifice his clan members solely based on differing opinions. It is more likely that Uchiha Karen is responsible for this, and Takoma might not even be aware of it, replied Hiruzen, showing his understanding of Uchiha Takoma's character. At that moment, there was a knock on Hiruzen's door, and his face calmed down again. Come in, said Hiruzen. A ninja entered the room. It was a member of Root. Danzo-sama, this is the information sent by spies from Kurigaka, said the Root ninja, handing over a scroll. Danzo took the scroll, read it, and his face changed. He then handed the scroll to Hiruzen. Hiruzen read it, closed his eyes, and at that moment Danzo waved his hand towards the Root ninja. The Root ninja understood and immediately left the room, closing the door. Hiruzen opened his eyes and asked, Danzo, do you have the list of Uchiha clan members whose bodies were found? Danzo nodded and gave Hiruzen another scroll. After reading it, Hiruzen understood everything. Now I understand. This Karen is wiser than we thought. Look at these names. Aren't they members of the Dove faction and the spies planted by me? He used them as bait for Kurigaka, and used Kurigaka ninjas as bait for members of our clans, giving our clan members a chance to perform a meritorious service. But it was clearly a trap for both of us. By doing this, he seeks revenge on both us and Kurigaka. Not to mention, after he destroyed Kurigaka's supplies, the pressure on Kurigaka increased even more. By doing this, he has added a meritorious service to his career, while my son and the other clan members of our Hokage faction have suffered annihilation. So what are you planning to do next? Asked Danzo. If Karen reaches the battlefield as the most powerful and influential person, he will surely be able to take over as the chief of the army easily. So I order you to immediately go to the battlefield and take over as the chief of the army, said Hiruzen. And what about Uchiha Karen? Asked Danzo. If possible, try to assassinate him, because we can't touch him officially, said Hiruzen, and don't forget about Takoma. Danzo nodded and stood up. Before Danzo left, Hiruzen gave a word of caution, try not to conflict with him directly. After the information on his strength, it seems his strength is even superior to his father. After Danzo left, Biwa came out of her room and said, so you're just letting that Uchiha Karen live? He's the murderer of a son. Hiruzen stood up and said, although we suspect that it might be Uchiha Karen who did it, we don't have anything to prove if it was him or not, or even if Uchiha clan members intervened in that battle. Then what's the use of you being a Hokage? Said Biwa angrily. It's this seat that is binding me. If I went Hokage, then by now I would have killed Uchiha Karen. As a Hokage, my every move is seen by the families in Konoha, said Hiruzen. Don't worry. I have sent Danzo. He will surely find a way to kill Uchiha Karen, assured Uchiha Karen. Somewhere in the Tea Country, a small camp was made by Uchiha clan members. At this moment, 15 masked members entered the camp. One by one, they opened their masks. They were Uchiha Karen and his subordinates with the Jonins of the Uchiha clan. You all rest well. We will join the Konoha camp tomorrow noon. Now we can't procrastinate, said Karen. Congratulations, leader. Tomorrow you will surely become the chief of the army, said one of the Jonins, congratulating Uchiha Karen. It's impossible. Maybe someone will be sent to be chief of the army. The Hokage will never allow anyone from the Uchiha clan to be chief of the army. So don't be delusional and go and rest, said Uchiha Karen. After saying that, he went to the tent made for him and looked to the left, shaking his head. It seems that I have to learn sealing. As before, the ninja sword was summoned back by Manjatsu. If I get a chance, then I will take that summoning scroll from Manjatsu, muttered Karen. I have to tell father about this as well. I know he will be very angry and may not talk to me for a long time. But whatever, said Karen. Karen knew that his father would be very angry and may not talk to him for a long time, because his father is strictly against killing his clan members unless they are traitors. He has killed so many people just because they belong to the Dove faction. Takoma had a wave of anger the next morning when he learned the news, just as Karen had predicted. Takoma was unable to take any real action, since he had to hide his escalating rage because of the unbreakable link of parenting. His only option was to stop speaking with Karen and decide to keep the situation private. Takoma's spirit was completely broken after losing one of his closest friends and seeing his own son commit a regretful act. His smoldering political ambition within the clan was entirely extinguished by the tragic turn of events. He shut himself off from the outside world with a firm resolve, guarding his heart against anyone who did not deserve his valuable attention. Naturally, word of this reached the Hokage, who, upon hearing of Takoma's firm decision, felt an immeasurable surge of joy and happiness. Danzo entered the tent with steady steps as the sun rose to its highest point, bringing midday. He didn't waste any time in starting to move in the direction of the tent at the center of the Konoha camp. Upon entering, he was met with the sight of about 20 jonins, most of whom belonged to the 4 important families, and were gathering inside. As soon as Danzo entered the tent, everyone in the crowd rose to their feet in unison, showing their respect for Danzo, as was only fitting. Danzo sat down in the chair position thoughtfully in the middle of the camp, after accepting their gesture with a calm mood. Danzo spoke to the group, his voice booming with authority. "Do you realize how angry Hiruzen is with you for your egregious carelessness? We have lost nearly half of our valued jonins from the various clans as a result of this neglect alone. In addition, Shinosuke, our elite jonin, was lost, and you are aware of his identity." The tent was enveloped in a thick quiet that was palpable in the air. No one dared to speak, much less look Danzo in the eye, as heads were lowered in regret. The scene remained solemn until a figure dressed in root clothes carefully entered the tent and knelt to show respect. The root ninja spoke urgently. "Uchiha Karen and other Uchiha clan members have arrived just outside the camp perimeter." Danzo's face remained expressionless as he took everything in, his mind already planning the next move. With a forceful but calm voice, he gave the root ninja the order to go immediately, and bring Uchiha Karen here as a matter of priority. The root ninja respectfully nodded in acknowledgement of the order, before hurriedly leaving to complete his assigned mission in accordance with Danzo's instructions. Uchiha Karen's eyes met those of every person inside the tent as he entered. Danzo taking the position of army chief was expected. Thus it came as no surprise to Karen to see him seated in the middle. Danzo was ultimately the sole suitable option, because the Hokage will be unable to come to the battlefield, and the other 2 elders were ineffective. The other 2 elders terribly lacked strength, which was a necessary attribute to keep the job of chief of the army. Danzo's question broke the tension. "Why did it take you so long to get to the camp of Konoha?" "The Uchiha clan left, as far as I know, almost 5 days ago." The reaction from Karen was prompt and unwavering. "First and foremost, we came upon a Kurigaka army ambush. After we repelled their attack, we had to respond to the many of our clansmen who had been hurt and needed rest and medical care. We therefore made the decision to take a much-needed break for 2 days. But yesterday, a fantastic chance came up. We took advantage of the opportunity and launched a sneak attack on the Kurigaka camp's rear, destroying their vital supplies and causing serious damage. They will be rendered temporarily paralyzed by this hit, giving Konoha the chance to concentrate on fending off Sunagika's attacks." After finishing his previous sentence, Karen took a scroll out of his pocket and gave it to the root ninja standing next to him. He then turned his attention back to Danzo and said, "You can find the forehead protectors of the deceased ninjas from Kurigaka, as well as those of 2 important foes, Jinin Akabino and Kushimaru Kiraira, who are both members of the 7 ninja swordsmen. I put an end to their lives with my own hands." The scroll also contains the forehead protectors of the elite jonins, and elite shunins who perished during our successful attack on the Kurigaka camp's rear. With no pause, Karen continued, "Another really important issue needs to be reported. Due to the treachery of one of our own Uchiha clan shunins, Kurigaka set up the ambush. This traitor revealed all we did, putting us in a precarious position. Unfortunately, he was able to escape before we could catch him." Uchiha Karen once more offered a scroll that included specific information about the Uchiha ninja who had committed the act of betrayal. Interestingly, it was this particular ninja who had informed the Konoha camp of the situation and requested assistance. Danzo desired to bring attention to the statements made by the Uchiha Shinobi, who had brought the news. He intended to assert that Uchiha Karen planned to launch an assault on the rear of Kurigaka, aiming to provoke a conflict between Kurigaka and Konoha. However, because Karen had labeled the Uchiha Shinobi as a traitor, Danzo was unable to accept a traitor's words as truth and question Karen, so he interrogated Karen about other matters. Danzo inquired, "What about the 30 members of the Uchiha clan who were not with you? They were cowards who feared engaging in battle, so we sent them ahead of us to the Konoha camp," responded Uchiha Karen. "I was approaching this very point. How dare you attack the rear of Kurigaka without the authorization of the Hokage?" Danzo stated, his tone laden with seriousness. "First and foremost, let me clarify that we were not directly deployed by Konoha on the explicit orders of the Hokage, nor did we show any disrespect towards his commands. Rather, we were merely given orders to make our way to the battlefield in the T country. It is important to note that no specific time limit was provided. Nonetheless, we hastened our journey, ensuring we traveled at our utmost speed. Moreover, upon being assaulted by the Kurigaka ninjas, I, as the leader of the army, promptly transmitted a report to the Hokage. Additionally, when we identified a favorable opportunity to launch an attack on the rear of Kurigaka, we diligently conveyed the details of the operation to the Hokage. As the battlefield presents itself with favorable circumstances, it is only appropriate that I, in my capacity as the leader of the Uchiha ninja team, exercise my full rights to capitalize on such an opportunity, rather than squandering valuable time in futile requests for information, articulated Karen. Don't tell me that being in a high position, you don't even know this rule of the battlefield, said Karen. In light of this discussion, I'm curious about the 3 ninja swords you currently have in your possession, which belong to the prestigious ninja swordsman, Danzo inquired. Allow me to rectify your statements. Firstly, let me clarify that I engaged in a fierce battle with 3 highly skilled ninja swordsmen. Unfortunately, one of them, Juzo, managed to escape, but I successfully captured 2 ninja swords. However, my triumph was short-lived as Mangetsu Hazuki swiftly summoned the swords back to his possession. As the esteemed leader of Root, I assume you possess valuable information regarding Mangetsu Hazuki. Moving on, I must emphasize that even if I had managed to keep those swords, I would not have given them to Konoha, because they are my battle trophies. Furthermore, I must draw your attention to the forehead protectors, which were presented to you as evidence of our credibility. These are the forehead protectors of ninjas with bounties on their heads, and I have a meticulously maintained list detailing the identities of fallen ninjas and the corresponding bounties placed on them. As a result, once the ninja's authenticity is confirmed through their respective forehead protectors, we will require either the allocated bounties or the return of these protectors, Karen declared. Danzo found himself unable to counter these arguments and replied, the Uchiha clan will receive their fair compensation in accordance with post-war regulations. Danzo had devised numerous schemes to humiliate Karen, but each one was thwarted as Karen had flawlessly covered every angle, leaving no room for exploitation. He even tried to word games by saying he had 3 swords of 7 ninja swordsmen, and Danzo hadn't even considered the potential consequences of highlighting the demise of the Sarutobi, Uchiha, and Mikado family ninjas at Karen's hands, aware that such a move might backfire. Alright, you have my permission to bring in the members of the Uchiha clan. We have reserved a designated space in the southwest direction where your clan can comfortably reside, stated Danzo, his unwillingness evident in his tone of voice. Karen nodded in acknowledgement and turned around, preparing to leave. However, before departing, he added, his voice filled with authority, please keep one thing in mind. We are not the Senju clan. Be prepared to face severe consequences if any conspiracies emerge. Karen exited the tent with those words of caution. It appears that the Uchiha clan possesses knowledge concerning the downfall of the Senju clan, Danzo thought as he absorbed Karen's message. Throughout Karen's presence within the tent, an unusual silence hung in the air. Danzo had explicitly instructed everyone present not to make the slightest movement, as any action could potentially be exploited by Uchiha Karen to their disadvantage. And just when there was silence in the tent, another Root ninja entered and knelt in front of Danzo. He spoke, Danzo-sama, someone has claimed bounties on the heads of various ninjas from the Sarutobi, Uchiha, Mikado, and Shimura clans. Not only that, but the Kurigaka ninjas' bounties have also been claimed, including Jinpachi Munashi. What? When did this happen? Asked a member of the Sarutobi clan. The Root ninja did not answer his question. Instead, he remained kneeling in front of Danzo without uttering a word. Danzo inquired, where did this transaction take place? At the black market in the tea country, and after receiving the payment, he used reverse summoning, making it impossible for anyone to capture him, replied the Root ninja. After suffering numerous losses among their ninja ranks, Kurigaka made a strategic decision to halt their attacks on the tea country and shift their focus towards defensive measures. In a similar vein, Sunagaka also withdrew the majority of their forces from the tea country, leaving behind a mere contingent of 1,000 ninjas. Sunagaka redirected their efforts towards fortifying the borders of the Fire Country, resulting in a significant reduction in the frequency of battles. Due to Uchiha Karen's growing reputation, he wasn't deployed to any other battlefield. Instead, he remained on the tea country battlefield. To reinforce other battlefields, approximately 70% of the members from the Sarutobi, Shimura, Mikado, and Uchiha clans were called back to the Fire Country. The remaining members from these families who were in Tea Country were mostly Genins and Chunins, who had reached the age of around 25 or above. Hence, it can be said that these members would remain Genins for their whole lives, and at most they could reach the Chunin level. The same was true for the present Chunins. They were also on the older side, lacking potential. Therefore, even if all of them were lost, neither of the families would lose a lot of strength. They would lose a significant number of ninjas, but their overall strength would not be greatly affected. Instead, it would help clear out the less skilled individuals from the Sarutobi, Shimura, Mikado, and Uchiha clans. 1 year before Naruto's birth, Uchiha Karen was deep in meditation within the confines of his tent at this precise moment. His thoughts were consumed by events that had occurred over the course of a year, since his arrival at the Konoha camp in Tea Country. During this period of time, he had grown tremendously in strength, eventually reaching the level of a kage. Despite the fact that his Sharingan was still at the 3-tomo stage, his mastery of ninjutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu, and taijutsu alone had propelled him to the prestigious rank of kage. This was a huge accomplishment. The advancements were not limited to Karen. His subordinates had also seen significant advancements in their abilities. They had improved their abilities to the point where they could easily defeat elite jonins on their own, and when they joined forces, they were capable of challenging opponents at the kage level. Not only were their individual strengths growing, but so was the harmonious synchronization of their combined power. Karen's bloodline had also undergone a remarkable transformation. It had been thoroughly purified, reaching a pristine state of 100% purity. His bloodline's refinement had ceased, implying that it had reached its peak potential. Karen, on the other hand, had an innate intuition that in order to continue advancing his bloodline towards the godlike status of the Otsutsuki, he would need to awaken the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Karen then examined the system panel. Name: Uchiha Karen Bloodline. Indra Bloodline, 100% Bloodline Limit. Sharingan, 3-tomo, Chakra. Kage Strength. Kage Abilities: Ninjutsu, Earth Style, Water Style, Wind Style, Fire Style, Thunder Style, Sun Breathing and its derived breathing. Subordinates: 5/5 * passive effective system. Blood refining for host. Right brace. Because of the system's intricate workings, the more Karen ascends in power, his subordinates experience a proportional increase in their own power. This augmentation is due to the high concentration of Indra's bloodline in his subordinates, which makes them exceptionally strong. However, there is a restriction in the form of a fixed number of subordinates, which is limited to 5. Karen slowly opened his eyes, casting his gaze towards the entrance of his tent. He sensed the presence of his subordinates lingering just outside, yet they appeared hesitant to enter. This unexpected display of reluctance puzzled him, as it had never occurred before. Seeking to alleviate the confusion, he calmly spoke, "Please, all of you, come in." In response to Karen's voice, his subordinates cautiously stepped into the tent. However, a lingering aura of hesitation still lingered upon their faces. Curiosity piqued, Karen inquired, "What has caused this hesitancy among you all?" Nakamura, mustering his resolve, took a step forward and said, "Master Karen, it concerns news regarding your father." A smile adorned Karen's face as he quipped, has he finally recollected that he has a son? It has been an entire year since our last conversation." Karen continued, "That's a good thing. Why were you hesitant? Just tell me. What message did he send?" After seeing the smile disappear from Karen's face, all of his subordinates lowered their heads. Even Nakamura, who had stepped forward, wasn't able to speak and lowered his head. Karen understood that something was not right. The commanding tone returned to his voice as he said, "Tell me what the news is about my father. This is my order." Nakamura, with his head lowered, gathered his courage and said, "Your father was killed in an ambush by Tsunagika on the battlefield." When Karen heard these words, a surge of kage-level chakra burst forth from his being, causing the tent's foundation to tremble. His Sharingan awoke, and the 3-tomo within his eyes began an intricate dance that evolved into the mesmerizing pattern. Celestial Symphony. Finally, Uchiha Karen awakened his Mangekyo Sharingan, and a tear of blood came out from his eyes. Finally, after the intense outburst of Uchiha Karen's emotions, he managed to regain his composure, and along with it, his violent chakra subsided. A sense of relief washed over his subordinates, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Karen turned his attention to his loyal subordinates and inquired, why did he venture onto the battlefield, instead of staying within the secure confines of the clan compound? There must be a valid reason for him to make such a decision. A sudden presence appeared in the tent, revealing a black cat. Kuroi, the summoning beast shared by Uchiha Karen and Uchiha Takoma, had appeared. Your father, as you are aware, keeps a diary, which is always entrusted to me. Whenever I have some free time, I browse through its contents. According to his recent entries, someone informed Takoma about your deployment to the Tsunagika battlefield. Furthermore, they revealed a sinister plan devised by the village to eliminate you with the help of Tsunagika. Takoma had unwavering faith in your formidable abilities at first, believing that nothing could harm you. This individual, however, revealed 3 critical pieces of information that compelled Takoma to act and gather his trusted subordinates, Kuroi elaborated. Kuroi went on to say, first, he discovered that the remaining members of the Puppet Brigade had joined the opposing forces, with the sole purpose of destroying you. Second, these foes were led by Ibizu, a renowned master of puppet and warfare arts, who is widely regarded as one of the most astute individuals alive. Finally, the dying Jinchuriki of Tsunagika was expected to take part in the battle. Takoma quickly gathered his most loyal subordinates in response to this distressing revelation, even enlisting the help of former Uchiha ninjas, who had been staunch supporters of your grandfather. They chose to accompany him to the battlefield, saying their goodbyes to Konoha. Uchiha Karen listened to everything, and with a calm mind, he analyzed and said, My father will never trust anyone unless they have been with him for a long time, and he can rely on them completely. Currently, there is only one person alive who has such trust from my father. You are correct. It's Uchiha Rin, whom your father has groomed since the age of 6, and wanted to make him your right-hand man, said Kuroi, confirming Uchiha Karen's guess. That bastard. How dare he betray Takuma-sama, who took care of him like his own child. Curse Nakamura. Master Karen, order me, and I will immediately return to Konoha and bring his head to your feet, said Hiroshi. Yes, you just have to give the order, and we will all bring the head of Uchiha Rin, said Amiko. Every subordinate of his was ready to bring Uchiha Rin's head at his command. However, Uchiha Karen sat there quietly, contemplating his next move. Seeing Karen lost in deep thought, everyone became quiet and remained silent for 15 minutes. Finally, Karen spoke. Like you, I also want to go and kill that traitor myself. But if I kill him now, I will not be able to punish those high-level individuals. Although Fugaku is a cowardly person, he would never plot against so many clan members. It must be the work of the Hokage, and it might be the work of Danzo too. He left the camp 1 week ago, said Aiko. So let Uchiha Rin live and send Fugaku a message in my name, that I am going to the battlefield of Sunagika. Until then, not even a hair of Uchiha Rin should be harmed, or else I will make him pay for letting my father die, said Karen, his voice filled with coldness. Leave it to me, said Kuroi. Karen nodded and then looked towards his subordinates. He said, I have a mission for you 5. You have been with me for so long and have fought many battles. You know how battles progress very well, and with your intelligence, I have no doubt that you will execute this smoothly. I want every single member of the other families dead, even if they are considered trash by their own clans. We will do them a favor and clean up this mess. Are we not accompanying you? Asked Amiko, concern evident in her voice. No, I will personally ensure that every single Sunagika ninja who ambushed my father pays for their actions, said Karen, his voice filled with an icy determination. Master Karen, I apologize for my presumption, but venturing alone into the battlefield is impulsive, Aiko interjected, taking a step forward. You are correct. Perhaps I am being reckless by choosing to face this challenge alone. However, I assure you that I am not a fool. Throughout my entire life, I have never engaged in anything foolish. So, rest assured and trust in my words. I will demonstrate to the world the forgotten power of the Uchiha clan, Karen declared, his tone reassuring as he activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. Karen's unwavering confidence derived from his possession of not just any ordinary Mangekyo Sharingan, but the rare and legendary Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. After giving instructions to his subordinates, Uchiha Karen promptly departed from the camp. The news of his departure reached the Sarutobi, Shimura, Mitakado, and Jutane families, who quickly relayed the information back to the Konoha village, using summoning beasts. Shortly afterward, Uchiha Karen's subordinates also left the Konoha camp, but they headed in a completely different direction than Uchiha Karen. In Konoha, in the Hokage's office, it seems Uchiha Karen took the bait, said Kaharu. Yes, time and time again, both he and his father have challenged our authority. After Takuma's death, no Uchiha clan member will oppose us, said Hamura with a smile. Because of these two, Uchiha Karen and Uchiha Takuma, almost half of the Uchiha clan was starting to deviate from the will of fire. Now, everything will return to how things should have been, said Hiruzen with a calm face. Shem PH, just admit that you are happy to take revenge for your son. Why so much nonsense? Said Danzo disdainfully towards Hiruzen. Hiruzen didn't say anything. After this, the war should also calm down on Sunagika's side, as the Jinchuriki have already reached their limit, and could die any moment, said Kaharu. If Uchiha Karen can kill Ibizo before dying, then we can relax on Sunagika's side, said Hamura. It's not possible. Ibizo is a careful person known for his wits and never underestimates any opponent, not to mention the Puppet Brigade, where most of the elite puppeteers are, said Danzo. Danzo is correct, and as soon as we receive news of Uchiha Karen's demise, tell the army in the T country to retreat. The ninjas from Kurigaka and Sunagika must also be retreating by now, said Hiruzen. Everyone nodded after hearing Hiruzen's words, agreeing with him. Hiruzen and his friend have already declared Uchiha Karen dead, because even Hiruzen in his prime will struggle to escape such encirclement. On the battlefield, where the small army of 1,000 Sunagika ninjas was stationed in the main camp. Ibizo-sama, we've received news that Uchiha Karen has left the camp, said a ninja kneeling in front of an elderly man. How many ninjas accompanied him? Asked Ibizo. He's alone, replied the kneeling ninja. Ibizo shook his head and said, tell the Puppet Brigade to be ready. Although he's alone, his strength is to be feared. It's best that our elite ninjas engage him in combat to minimize our losses, and quickly kill him. Yes. After saying that, the ninja left to inform the army accordingly. After a wait of a few hours, Karen, covered in lightning, arrived in front of the Sunagika camp, where Ibisu was waiting with an elite team of puppeteers. A few minutes ago, When Karen entered the area where the Sunagaka ninjas were present, they immediately noticed him and went to inform Ibizo about his arrival. Karen was aware of their presence but let them go, considering them already dead. Letting them leave would allow all the members of the Sunagaka ninjas to gather, saving Uchiha Karen time. Karen stood in front of Ibizo and the Sunagaka army. "So, you are the ones who took my father's life and killed so many ninjas from the Uchiha clan," said Karen, his voice devoid of any emotion. "Yes," Ibizo came forward and said, "Your father died by my hands. And I enjoyed his last moments when he was begging for his life and the lives of the Uchiha clan ninjas." "You bastard, I will kill you," shouted Karen, clenching his katana and ready to attack Ibizo. But suddenly, his face returned to its normal expression, devoid of any emotion. "Is this the emotion you were expecting from me? You think I don't know my father?" Even in his final moments, he would have died with pride and arrogance, knowing that his son would avenge him. "But don't worry. What you just said, I will make it come true. However, the scenario will be quite different. You will be begging me to spare the ninjas from Sunagaka," said Karen. Ibizo's face returned to calm. He realized that Uchiha Karen's appearance was not driven by anger, but by a clear mind calculating his visit. If that was the case, he had to be prepared. "Everyone, get ready and kill Uchiha Karen as fast as possible. Beware, his speed is incredibly fast," said Ibizo. Karen's katana gleamed in the sunlight as he prepared for battle. With a slight bend, he unleashed his power, causing his entire body to crackle with vibrant purple lightning. The sheer intensity of his aura shook the very ground beneath him, creating deep fissures that snaked their way across the battlefield. Thunder-breathing first form. Continuous slash. Karen's voice reverberated through the air, his determination evident in every word. In an instant, he vanished from his original position, leaving behind a mesmerizing trail of purple light that streaked across the battlefield with astonishing speed. Devastation followed the purple light wherever it went. The Sunagaka ninjas and puppets were cut in half by Karen's unstoppable onslaught, their bodies cleaved in half by the sheer force of his strikes. The battlefield had become a graveyard for fallen enemies, their lifeless forms scattered like discarded puppets. Karen went deep into the army in this manner. Ibizo became aware of the gravity of the situation after witnessing Karen's incredible speed and prowess. Seeing Karen travel deep into the army as an opportunity, he bellowed orders to his forces, his voice laced with urgency. "Puppeteers, unleash a never-ending barrage of poison needles. Cover the area with dense poison fog, the rest of you. Give him no way out." A group of puppeteers manipulated their intricate creations in response to Ibizo's command, causing a rain of deadly poison needles to descend on Karen. The ominous whistling of projectiles aimed at piercing their target's defenses filled the air. At the same time, the remaining forces unleashed a dense, suffocating cloud of poisonous fog, shrouding the battlefield in a sinister haze. Witnessing the onslaught of numerous shurikens and a suffocating fog engulfing Karen entirely, Ibizo couldn't help but wear a confident smile on his face. In a low voice, he muttered to himself, "Seems like I greatly overestimated this Uchiha Karen." However, just as those words escaped his lips, the sensory ninja standing beside him chimed in, "Ibizo-sama, Uchiha Karen has vanished." Perplexed, Ibizo inquired, "What do you mean, vanished?" "He's no longer in his previous position, wait. He seems to have reappeared behind the opposing army," the sensory ninja explained. Suddenly, a surge of Uchiha Karen's chakra was detected behind the Sunagaka forces. Karen stood at the rear of the army of Sunagaka. He appeared here using his Mangekyo Sharingan right eye ability, which is to control space. He teleported to the rear of the army because there was something he wanted. Karen stabbed his katana into the ground. "This should do the trick. Bring out that raccoon." With that, he inhaled heavily induced fire release. Great fire annihilation. A stream of fire was released from Uchiha Karen's mouth and converted into a sea of flames, engulfing the ninjas of Sunagaka. As they were not prepared for this, they were burned to charcoal. Some experienced ninjas started defending themselves with whatever moves they saw fit. But this sudden change of attack caught Ibizo off guard. He wasn't expecting this. But he knew he didn't have to worry too much, as there was a one-tailed Jinchuriki present. As expected by Ibizo, a huge wave of sand appeared and covered the battlefield, creating a defensive barrier that prevented the fire released by Uchiha Karen from moving forward. A man in his 40s, covered with tailed beast chakra, appeared. However, his pale face and weak body made it seem like he would die at any moment. Since Karen had done this purposefully, he wasn't surprised to see the one-tailed Jinchuriki in front of him. The Jinchuriki looked around and saw many Sunagaka ninjas dead due to Uchiha Karen's attack. He said, "You killed so many Sunagaka ninjas. I am going to kill you." After saying this, the Jinchuriki ran towards Karen at full speed and appeared in front of him, punching him in the face. However, Karen swiftly placed his katana in front, which was enough to stop the assault. This showed Karen's strength, but the Jinchuriki didn't stop there. His normal tail, in the form of an initial one-tailed Jinchuriki, became a sand tail, and he attacked Karen, trying to finish him. However, the attack didn't hit Karen, but passed through his body, momentarily stunning the Jinchuriki. Karen took advantage of this distraction and punched him in the face, sending the Jinchuriki flying. Karen held his katana tightly and slightly bent his body, covered in purple lightning. He used the move Thunder Breathing, Godspeed. By this time, Ibizo also arrived and looked at Karen, who disappeared and turned into light. Wherever he passed, the ground was destroyed. He passed by the Jinchuriki, who was still in the air, and directly cut off both of the Jinchuriki's hands. Before he could even react, the Jinchuriki's 2 hands were destroyed, and he fell to the ground. Due to the pain and loss of his arms, his face started to become hideous, and soon half of his face transformed into that of a monster. Seeing this, Ibizo's face changed, and he said, "Don't let him turn into a complete tailed beast, or else we might suffer. Tell the sealing team to move towards the one tail and stop its further movement. The rest of you will follow me to attack." After receiving the signal, everyone started attacking Uchiha Karen. Karen, using only his 3 Tomo Sharingan and swordsmanship, clashed with the ninjas of Sunagaka, decimating them as if they were nothing. Ibizo also took out his 5 puppets to fight against Uchiha Karen. One of his meticulously crafted puppets executed the devastating technique known as Fire Release, Dragon Flame Bomb, while another puppet unleashed the formidable power of Wind Release, Big Breakthrough. The harmonious combination of these 2 potent ninjutsu unleashed a colossal wave of scorching fire directed towards Karen. Sensing the imminent danger, the skilled ninjas from Sunagaka promptly initiated the retreat. On the other hand, Karen didn't retreat. Instead, he bravely stood his ground with his palm extended forward. Suddenly, something astonishing and completely unexpected occurred. The colossal wave of fire that had engulfed the surroundings began to shrink in size. As the flames approached Karen, they inexplicably vanished into thin air, leaving everyone bewildered and amazed. The speed of the fire's disappearance was so rapid that no one had a chance to react or comprehend what was unfolding before their eyes. Confusion filled the air as the onlookers pondered the whereabouts of the fire. They wondered in astonishment. Where did it go? How did Karen manage to absorb such a tremendous force? Yet, the bewilderment was short-lived, for just as their curiosity peaked, a minuscule portal of space materialized behind Ibizo, unbeknownst to him. The proximity of the portal to Ibizo was so close that he remained oblivious to its existence. Then, to the astonishment of all, the same colossal wave of fire that had vanished before Uchiha Karen's eyes re-emerged through the portal. Like a voracious beast, it swiftly engulfed Ibizo in its scorching embrace, leaving no trace of him behind. Curiously, Karen refrained from approaching Ibizo further. He possessed a keen awareness that the individual consumed by the flames was not the genuine Ibizo, but merely a lifeless puppet. Karen wasn't able to find Ibizo with his perception. Perhaps he used something to help him conceal his chakra, but he had a rough location of Ibizo, with the chakra lines with which he was controlling the puppet. But now he had to focus on destroying the Sunagaka army. There are still 700 ninjas left. Grandiose maneuvers were the most effective way to quickly decimate the opposing army. Karen concentrated intently with this strategic thought in mind, causing a remarkable transformation to occur around his body as a protective white chakra ribsage gradually materialized. A kunai struck it just as the ribsage was forming, resulting in a resounding boom upon the detonation of the attached explosive tag. When one of the Sunagaka ninjas saw Karen standing triumphant after defeating Ibizo, he immediately launched an attack with a kunai adorned with explosive tags, hoping to catch Karen off guard. Nonetheless, how could a mere explosive tag possibly penetrate a Susanu's impenetrable ribsage? A skeletal hand extended itself from the skeletal structure of the Susanu's ribsage, quickly grabbing the unfortunate ninja who attacked Karen. As the muscles on the skeletal hand began to grow and the ribsage gradually transformed into a half-body skeletal structure of human body, the skeletal hand covered in muscles tightened its grip on the ninja and eventually crushed the ninja, resulting in the ninja's instantaneous demise. After witnessing the unfortunate ninja's horrifying demise, the assembled crowd gazed upon the awe-inspiring sight of the white skeletal half-body, now augmented by bulging muscles, reaching an astonishing height of nearly 10 meters, all while Karen was safely positioned within this imposing construct. What in the world is this? A monstrous entity I've never seen before in my life, one of the Sunagaka ninja exclaimed. He crushed him like an ant, utterly relentless, another Sunagaka ninja added. Despite the general confusion caused by the presence of the imposing white skeleton before them, some perceived it as a malicious creature, while others suspected it to be a formidable summon summoned by Uchiha Karen. In stark contrast, Ibizo recognized the truth behind this skeletal marvel as something akin to the terrifying possession of the infamous Uchiha Madara. During the tense moment when Ibizo was engaged in combat with Uchiha Karen, he noticed that Karen's eye was different from the typical Sharingan. He couldn't recall the exact significance of those eyes in the midst of the heated battle. Everything became clear to him after observing the half-body skeletal structure. Mangekyou Sharingan. What on earth is the intelligent department doing? He awakened Mangekyou, and we remain completely unaware, Ibizo murmured in frustration. While Ibizo was carefully analyzing the situation, 2 swords materialized in the hands of Susanu, Karen's formidable technique, in front of him and the Sunagaka ninjas. Susanoo swung the swords horizontally, dealing a lethal blow that claimed the lives of nearly 20 Sunagaka ninjas in a single slash from both swords at the same time. The death of their comrades instilled rage in every Sunagaka ninja, prompting them to launch a relentless assault on Uchiha Karen using their various techniques. However, their efforts were futile in the face of Susanoo's impenetrable defense. The number of casualties under Susanoo's merciless might increased as the number of ninjas closing in on Karen increased. Karen continued to advance towards the heart of the battlefield, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. After much thought, Ibizo came to a singular conclusion. In order to defeat Karen, they must exhaust him. Any other course of action would inevitably result in a brutal massacre. Let us not approach him hastily. We are unable to breach his defenses, and killing him appears to be impossible. Everyone will engage him from a long distance from now on, allowing him to deplete his chakra reserves. Maintaining such a massive structure must take a significant amount of chakra, making him vulnerable over time. We'll send reinforcements once he's worn down, Ibizo yelled, his commanding voice echoing across the battlefield, rallying his comrades to this strategic approach. Each ninja initiated a strategic retreat as Ibizo's commanding voice echoed. When they received Ibizo's orders, they tactically switched to long-range attacks, avoiding coming within striking distance of Susanoo's formidable sword and confronting Karen head-on. You intend to prolong the battle in order to exhaust me. Unfortunately, you are all lost in a fanciful daydream, Karen stated. One of Susanoo's swords vanished as Karen's assertive voice faded, making way for the appearance of three Tomo shapes. When viewed from a distance, these mystical forms interconnected by a chakra string resembled shurikens. Karen hurled them at the Sunagaka army without hesitation. Yasaka Magatama was the mastermind behind this technique. When the Yasaka Magatama collided with the ground, it released a massive boom, annihilating everything within a 5-meter radius. Karen repeated this move 3 times more, unleashing a series of massive explosions. The targeted strikes were astutely directed at the enemy army's densest segments, culminating in the rapid decimation of numerous Sunagaka ninjas in less than a minute. After witnessing this unprecedented display of power, Ibizo stood in stunned silence, unable to express his feelings. Fear gripped the other ninjas, who began to see themselves as potential targets, causing many to flee in panic. Karen strategically targeted the densest formations, causing them to scatter further and potentially avoiding additional attacks. Uchiha Karen's Susanoo vanished as the Sunagaka ninjas scattered in confusion. After assessing the situation, I realized that using a half-body Susanoo against such a large number of opponents is impossible. Despite its chakra-draining nature and sluggishness, only a full-body Susanoo will do. After dismissing the Susanoo, Karen murmured thoughtfully. As soon as Susanoo vanished, the Sunagaka ninjas, who had been panicking and running from one place to another, stopped in confusion, wondering why Uchiha Karen's Susanoo had disappeared. It appears that Uchiha Karen has consumed too much of his chakra due to the use of such a powerful jutsu, said a jonin beside Ibizo. You are right. It seems that he has recently obtained this power and has not mastered it yet, which is why he used it so recklessly, leading to the depletion of his chakra. Ibizo agreed with the jonin. Shem PH. It seems that he just came here to get familiar with his new powers. After obtaining them, he has to pay for his arrogance by underestimating a Sunagaka ninja army, said the jonin in an angry tone. Order everyone to attack Uchiha Karen, and do not let him leave at any cost. We must eliminate such an enemy before he becomes even more powerful and seeks revenge on us later on, said Ibizo with a serious face, because he knows that if by any chance Uchiha Karen reaches anywhere near the level of Uchiha Madara, then Sunagaka is doomed for sure. The jonin nodded and went to give orders. The order was like this: Uchiha Karen has now been exhausted, and this golden opportunity cannot be missed. So go and kill that Uchiha Karen and take revenge for our fallen brethren, and also for the friends and family that you hold dear. After receiving the orders, the ninjas from Sunagaka gained newfound confidence and hoped to defeat Uchiha Karen and avenge their friends and family. With determination, they started running in the direction of Uchiha Karen. Seeing all the ninjas coming in his direction, Karen clenched his katana and bent down slightly, thunder-breathing first form. Continuous slash. Karen disappeared, and as soon as he vanished, only a flicker of light could be seen throughout the battlefield. In this manner, the flicker of light passed through the army. Eventually, the flicker of light stopped, revealing Uchiha Karen sheathing his katana back. As soon as Karen sheathed his katana, almost simultaneously, all the ninjas from Sunagaka started falling to the ground. Most had their heads cut off, while some had deep cuts on their chests and necks. Every injury to the Sunagaka ninjas was fatal, and fountains of blood formed around each of them. This speed is almost double the speed he used when he arrived. How is this possible? How can someone's speed increase by so much? Ibizo said in horror and fear. When Karen first arrived, he didn't use such speed. Even at his initial speed, they had difficulty just locating him. But at this speed, they could only see a flicker of light passing from one place to another, and before they could even react, almost 70% of the Sunagaka army was slaughtered. Karen was panting heavily. Although the ability to accelerate time is useful and made my speed even faster, it also makes me tired faster. This happened by doubling the time speed around me. If I used an even higher speed, maybe I would be even more tired, muttered Karen to himself, analyzing the ability of his left Mangekyo Sharingan, which is to accelerate and slow the time speed around him and his enemies. He used the ability of time acceleration on himself, making time flow at double the speed around him. Karen continued analyzing, and now I am only left with 1/10 of my chakra, but then he looked towards the one-tailed Jinchuriki, who was again going out of control. After seeing so many of the Sunagika ninjas dead, I don't have to worry. I have a plan, said Karen with a smile. After that, Karen disappeared and reappeared in front of the one-tailed Jinchuriki. He taunted in a mocking tone, "What a pathetic weakling you are. Even after seeing so many of your village ninjas die, you can't protect them. Instead, those ninjas from your village are trying to keep you calm, sealing the tailed beast, so that you don't harm them. Ha ha, really funny." Hearing Uchiha Karen's taunting words, the Jinchuriki became even more furious, causing the one tail to take over its consciousness, transforming half of the Jinchuriki's body into that of the one tail. However, the Jinchuriki remained sane, and used the chakra of the one tail to perform the ninjutsu sand gathering assault. A large amount of sand appeared above the Jinchuriki's head and rained down on Karen. The Jinchuriki didn't stop there, but used quicksand waterfall flow. A large amount of sand, like a wave, traveled in the direction where Karen was standing. As soon as the whole area where Karen was standing was covered, he used sand waterfall imperial funeral by slamming his hand to the sand, causing a large amount of sand to compress itself and grind the whole place. "Ha ha, he should be dead now," said the Jinchuriki, panting with his face down. But then he heard a clapping sound, and looked up to see Uchiha Karen walk out of the sand dome unharmed and moving forward as if there was no sand around him, but rather a plain ground. "You impress me, Shukaku, you are quite capable. It is settled. Then you will be my pet from now on," Uchiha Karen said. As soon as Shukaku heard his name from Uchiha Karen's mouth, it became agitated and began to take over Jinchuriki's conscious with its full force, and this time Jinchuriki, who was already exhausted after using so many big moves against Karen, and Karen wasn't even affected by it in the slightest. Not to mention that he was already weak from the start, and he doesn't know how much longer he can hold out. As soon as Shukaku took over the consciousness of the Jinchuriki, he said, "How do you know my name? As someone from the family of the son of Sage of Six Parts, shouldn't I at least know the name of every tailed beast?" said Karen. Shukaku found it reasonable and thought it as matter of as mentioned by Karen, and didn't pursue the matter of his name any further. Instead, he said, "But that doesn't mean that you can make me your pet. I am not a weakling like Kurama," and roared loudly. "You know, one of the founders of Konoha and once the clan head of our Uchiha clan, Uchiha Madara said, the tailed beasts are meant to be used by people with visual prowess," said Karen, with his Mangekyo active. "The same evil eyes as those of Uchiha Madara," said Shukaku with a solemn look. Shukaku didn't want to take the risk of falling into the same fate as Kurama and becoming a pet, so he immediately hit his stomach and released wind release. Drilling air bullet. A big ball of wind was formed, and it moved at a high speed towards Uchiha Karen. Seeing this, Karen said, using wind against an Uchiha whose strongest point is fire, as wind release is weak against fire release. After saying that, Karen also used fire release, fireball technique, and a huge fireball comparable in size to the wind ball used by Shukaku was released in the direction of Shukaku. As soon as both techniques collided, they cancelled each other out. Seeing his move ineffective against Karen, Shukaku roared. However, this roar wasn't a normal one. Shukaku used Tailed Beast SHOCKWAVE. It was move used by Tailed Beast, in which they imbue their chakra in their roar to create shockwaves. And a huge shockwave traveled in Karen's direction. Karen also wanted to show Shukaku that even if he could control Shukaku with his Dojutsu easily, he wanted to show Shukaku that even with his full strength, he can achieve this feat. And for that, Karen used one of his aces, the sun-breathing 13th form, and disappeared. After that, Karen moved at a very fast speed, first cutting off one of Shukaku's legs and then the other, passing through Shukaku's body in a spiraling manner, and finally standing behind him. As soon as Karen sheathed his sword, the deep spiraling cut marks he made on Shukaku were engulfed in fire, covering Shukaku completely in flames. This caused Shukaku to become unstable, and Shukaku roared in anger and fell to the ground. However, as a tailed beast, his regenerative capabilities were very strong, allowing it to stand back on its feet in a short amount of time. This time, Shukaku was very angry, so he started forming a tailed beast bomb. If it was someone else, they would have started panicking by now. But Karen was totally different, even though he was only left with 1/20th of his chakra. After finishing preparing his tailed beast bomb, Shukaku released it towards Uchiha Karen with full force, trying to kill him in one fell swoop. However, just as the tailed beast bomb neared Uchiha Karen, he disappeared and reappeared in front of Shukaku. He said, "I would have done something better with that tailed beast bomb." but you know I am running low on chakra. After all, I traveled so far and fought for so long and so many people. And you are the reason why I fought so confidently even after knowing that it might consume my whole chakra. It's all because of you. Haha, you may dream as my host is about to die. Even if you start unsealing me now, you won't be able to. So, after the death of the Jinchuriki, I will also die, but I will be reincarnated after a few years. And you will get nothing, said Shukaku, as he started becoming smaller and smaller. Do you really believe I will not know something like this? Said Uchiha Karen, looking towards Shukaku, who was now gone, and in front of him lay the dying Jinchuriki. The Jinchuriki also had a smile of victory on his face, for at least the one Tao beast didn't fall into the hands of the enemy. But little did he know that he met Uchiha Karen, who has the ability to slow time. Karen didn't react to the victory smile on the face of the Jinchuriki, and used the ability of his Mangekyo Sharingan to slow down the Jinchuriki's impending death. Jinchuriki's death became very slow, and Uchiha Karen used the knowledge of sealing that he learned during the 1-year gap, due to his inability to seal ninja swords of the 7 ninja swordsmen, to unseal the seal placed on the Jinchuriki and freed Shukaku before the death of the Jinchuriki. Shukaku, who was ready to die, suddenly found himself released from the Jinchuriki. He became confused and looked towards Uchiha Karen, who was also looking in his direction, but at this time, Uchiha Karen was panting heavily and almost left with no chakra. Seeing this, Shukaku also didn't want to waste his time asking how. Rather, he immediately raised his paw to attack Uchiha Karen, in an attempt to kill him as Karen seemed to be exhausted. But just as he raised his paw, Uchiha Karen used his Mangekyo, and Shukaku's eye took the same pattern as that of Uchiha Karen's. Shukaku's raised foot was lowered back to the ground, and Karen jumped on the back of Shukaku, starting to take chakra from Shukaku to refill his reserves of chakra. Use the tail beast bomb on the densest part of the remaining Sunagaka army, commanded Uchiha Karen. After receiving the order from Karen, Shukaku began creating the tail beast bomb, and released it onto the densest part of the Sunagaka army. Seeing Shukaku's eyes turn into the pattern of the Sharingan, Ibizo was totally covered in cold sweat, and he knew that this battle was lost. But what struck fear in him the most was when he saw Shukaku creating a tailed beast bomb and aiming it towards their army. He shouted, "Retreat! Retreat immediately, or else you all will be killed." The Sunagaka ninjas also saw the tailed beast bomb approaching them, so they began running in the opposite direction of the tailed beast bomb, trying to get out of its range, their fear visible on their faces. But how could they possibly outrun the tailed beast bomb? The moment it landed, it exploded with a resounding boom, causing numerous casualties in the Sunagaka army, leaving less than 50 ninjas alive, and of those, only 30 were able to continue fighting on the battlefield. Witnessing so many of his fellow village ninjas fall to their deaths, Ibizo felt heartache, and anger became evident on his face as he looked towards Karen. Suddenly, Karen vanished from Shukaku's back and reappeared in front of Ibizo. This sight prompted every ninja around Ibizo to surround Karen, prepared to defend against any potential attack. Karen was the first to speak. "Tell me, from whom did you receive such information that my father is coming to the battlefield here?" "Uchiha Karen, we meet for the first time, but I heard about your cunningness and strength from the battlefield of the Tea Country. And with your intelligence, it is not difficult for you to guess who is behind all this," said Ibizo. You are correct. I just wanted to confirm, and obviously, it is impossible for me to get any evidence from you, said Uchiha Karen. After saying that, he passed through the ninjas of Sunagaka like a ghost, and pierced Ibizo's heart. "You of Sunagaka could have done anything, but touching my father was the biggest mistake you made. Go and prepare places for the ninjas of Sunagaka who are going to follow in your footsteps." Ibizo's lifeless body fell to the ground with a thud. "Ibizo-sama." The ninjas surrounding Ibizo shouted upon seeing his death. In their rage, they attacked Karen, but Karen stood firm and used his ability to control space. He wielded a space blade at incredible speed, cutting the bodies of every ninja present in the vicinity in half. The lifeless bodies of the Sunagaka ninjas fell to the ground before they could even react. At this time, Shukaku came near Karen and stood in front of him. "Did you find any other ninjas?" asked Uchiha Karen. Shukaku replied, "No, I used the concealed sand picture cat technique, but I didn't find any ninjas in the vicinity." Karen nodded. Even if Shukaku searched, he might not find any ninja from Sunagaka, especially those puppeteers who have different kinds of puppets for various purposes. Not to mention Danzo's roots might have fled already or might be using some kind of concealment technique. After this, Karen separated some shadow clones, and ordered them to collect all the heads of jonins who had bounties on them. After claiming so many bounties, Karen also started keeping a record of the bounties for ninjas from different villages. "Now I understand why Kakuzu is so addicted to bounty collection. If you have strength, then you can amass as much money as you want for yourself by collecting bounties," said Karen. Shadow clones like him were fast, and within minutes, he collected all the heads of the jonins. After completing this task, he created a large space in his ninja pouch, and kept all those heads inside. "Let's leave," said Karen, while jumping on the back of Shukaku. His shadow clones disappeared with a cloud of smoke. In the deep night inside Konoha, Hiruzen was working in his office. At this time, the gate of his office was flung open, and it was Danzo. Hiruzen put his work on hold and asks, "How many times do I have to tell you to knock before entering my office?" Danzo didn't reply to Hiruzen's question and threw a scroll on Hiruzen's table. "What's in it?" "The battle report of Uchiha Karen with Tsunagika," said Hiruzen while opening the scroll. But when he read it, his face changed. "How is this even possible?" asked Hiruzen. "Same as Uchiha Madara. Not only has he awakened the Mangekyo, but in this battle, he even captured the One Tail, and from the behavior of the One Tail, it is evident that Uchiha Karen has controlled it as his own," said Danzo with an ugly expression on his face, but greed hidden in his eyes. "Where is he right now?" asked Hiruzen. "No idea. After killing Ibizo, he is nowhere to be seen," said Danzo. After thinking for a moment, Hiruzen tapped his table twice, and an Ambu ninja appeared in the office. Hiruzen said, "Take a team and immediately go find Uchiha Karen. Tell him that I asked him to return to the village." The Ambu ninja nodded and left immediately to follow Hiruzen's orders. At the same time, in the camp of the Kazukiage, Rasa was seated with Chiyo and others. "We will only be able to fight until the Jinchuriki is alive, and Awagika doesn't give up their fight with Konoha. Once Awagika is freed, they will surely attack us in full force. We will not be able to continue our attack on Konoha, but instead have to focus on Awagika," said Rasa. "You are correct. That's why we have to use the dying Jinchuriki as much as possible for our advantage, and make the best use of it," suggested one of the elders. "Yes, at the very least, we have to take the resources from Konoha, so that we can support our counter-attack on Awagika," sighed Rasa. Due to getting less funding from the daimyo of the Wind Country, they are very tight on resources to support their battle with any major village. Chiyo was quite absent-minded as Sasori had left Tsunagika and declared as missing Nin. Just as they were discussing, a ninja from Tsunagika Ambu appeared in the tent and said, "Kazukiage-sama, a team of ninja from the Puppet Brigade has arrived, and they are in quite a bad shape." As soon as Chiyo heard this, she came to her senses and looked towards the Ambu ninja. She said, "The ninjas from the Puppet Brigade, weren't they with Ibizo? What are they doing here and not on the battlefield? Go bring that ninja here immediately." After receiving the order from Chiyo without waiting for any confirmation from Rasa the Kazukiage, the Ambu ninja left immediately and returned with the team of 3 ninjas. Rasa, on the side, clenched his fist after seeing this. Even as the Kazukiage, he doesn't hold much power in Tsunagika. Most of the power is concentrated in the hands of Chiyo and Ibizo, siblings. However, he soon calmed down, knowing that there will be times to prove himself as the ninja war is still going on. As soon as they entered the tent, Rasa wanted to ask, but he was interrupted by Chiyo. She asked first, "What are you doing here, rather than being on the battlefield with Ibizo?" The team of ninjas just bowed their heads and remained silent, knowing that it has not been long since Chiyo's grandson left Tsunagika, and she is very upset about it. Now they can't bring themselves to tell her that her brother is dead. Seeing the team of ninjas didn't speak and remained silent, Chiyo had a bad premonition about this. She asked with an anxious tone, "Is Ibizo fine? Say that Ibizo is fine, right?" "Chiyo-sama, Ibizo-sama died an honorable death in the battle with Uchiha Karen," said one of the ninjas after seeing Chiyo like this. Chiyo slumped down as soon as she heard this and didn't process any further information. Just the phrase "Ibizo-sama died" left her stunned. Chiyo was overwhelmed with grief, but Rasa was secretly happy after hearing this. He knew that upon hearing the news of her brother's death, Chiyo might either give up everything in grief or become totally reckless, and a reckless ninja is never far from death. However, on the surface, Rasa remained composed and didn't show his feelings on his face or body language. With authority in his voice and anger in it, he asked, "You said he died in the battle with Uchiha Karen. Then what were you and the other ninjas doing when Elder Ibizo was killed?" "That guy is a total monster, a complete beast. He killed the ninjas from Tsunagika like chopping vegetables. His speed is unimaginable. He is as fast as light," said one of the ninjas who was deeply affected by the slaughter that Uchiha Karen performed on the battlefield. It left a mental trauma on him. "Say properly what you want to say. You are ninja from Tsunagika, not from some weak village," reprimanded Rasa after such behavior from the ninja. "He means to say that we are the only survivors who have been able to escape. Everyone else from Tsunagika is dead," said the first ninja who spoke. Chiyo heard this and suppressed her grief. She asked, "You mean every ninja died? Then what about the Jinchuriki? Where was he when all this happened?" "The One Tail is captured by Uchiha Karen, and now it is in Uchiha Karen's total control," replied the ninja, responding to Chiyo's question. "What?" everyone present there exclaimed after hearing this. "Are you sure?" asked Rasa. "Ibizo-sama said that Uchiha Karen has awakened the same eyes as Uchiha Madara, and was able to control the One Tail because of it," said the ninja. As soon as the ninja's voice fell, this news was even more surprising, especially for someone like Chiyo, who had lived during the era of Madara Uchiha, and had heard legends of Madara and Hashirama. Chiyo confirmed again. Are you sure that Ibizo mentioned this? Yes, and not only that, the one-tail's eye pattern also became that of a Sharingan when controlled by Uchiha Karen, said the ninja. After hearing this, Chiyo and Rasa said simultaneously, Mangekyo Sharingan. Chiyo stood up and said, I am going to the battlefield where my brother fell. I am not going to let that Uchiha Karen live. Rasa also nodded, knowing that if they lose a strategic weapon like the tailed beast, Sunagaka, which is already considered the weakest major village, will become even weaker. Rasa also stood up and said, you take a team of ninjas to the battlefield where Elder Ibizo fell. The recovery of the one tail is also very important. Chiyo nodded at this, and just as she was about to go out, another Anbu ninja came and knelt in front of Rasa. He said, Kazuki-sama, one of our strongholds in the country of fire has been destroyed by Uchiha Karen. What? When did this happen? Asked Rasa in disbelief. Just a few moments ago, a team arrived here and reported that it was Uchiha Karen who, with calculated precision, killed every single person in the stronghold, deliberately sparing just one team, replied the Anbu ninja. Rasa immediately summoned the surviving team and demanded detailed accounts of the dreadful incident. From the battle described by the team, it was clear that Uchiha Karen killed all the ninjas alone, solely based on his swordsmanship and ninjutsu. It wasn't like he didn't have Shukaku with him, Shukaku was following him like his pet. But it seemed that Karen was honing his skills. Rasa was about to declare the start of an extensive investigation when another Anbu ninja appeared, accompanied by a team of 3 ninjas. To their chagrin, their report confirmed the previous one. Uchiha Karen had decimated yet another Sunagaka stronghold, sparing only one team of its occupants. Sunagaka had only 2 strongholds where around 1500 ninjas were stationed, and this was not small, especially for Sunagaka. This is not acceptable. Go investigate both the strongholds and see if you can find any clues about Uchiha Karen's abilities, ordered Rasa. Chiyo also stood up and said, I am also going to investigate the battlefield where my brother fell. Rasa nodded at this because, in a way, Chiyo was not asking him, but rather telling him that she is going to investigate. The next morning, news about Sunagaka's loss against Uchiha Karen and Karen's revenge on Sunagaka spread throughout the ninja world. Sunagaka also deliberately released the details of the abilities shown by Uchiha Karen during the battle. In a place somewhere underground, a huge statue was sitting, and in front of it, an old man was seated with a tube connected to his body. Madara-sama, there is big news, said White Zetsu while emerging from the ground. The old man, who was Madara, opened his eyes and asked, what is it? White Zetsu began to explain the news about Uchiha Karen, and what he had done in these few days. Madara-sama, he is perfect for your plan. He possesses what you need for your resurrection, said White Zetsu. You are right. He is powerful and possesses all the qualities I need to resurrect myself. However, the biggest disadvantage is that he has his own ambitions, and on top of that, he is very smart. I don't want anyone like that. I want someone who is an emotional fool. Someone I can manipulate as I please. So, keep an eye on that boy, Uchiha Obito. The time is approaching soon, said Madara. After receiving the order from Madara, White Zetsu left using the Mayfly technique. Mangekyo Sharingan plus space-related ability interesting. This world is getting more and more interesting. Hashirama, muttered Madara as he closed his eyes again. On a tree, Uchiha Karen was sitting, and beside him was a small version of Shukaku. Below the tree, 6 ninjas wearing Anbu costumes of Konoha were lying dead. Do they really think I'll retreat so easily? I haven't even inflicted much damage on these Sunagaka ninjas, said Karen with disdain. The whole day passed like this, and Karen slept soundly for the first time after receiving the news of his father's death. Of course, Shukaku was there to keep an eye on the surroundings, allowing Karen to sleep soundly. At night, Karen woke up, caught a small prey, and ate it. Then he stood up and said, if those Sunagaka ninjas think that I'll let their team leave alive, just so that my deeds can be known to them, then they are dead wrong. After saying this, he immediately activated his Mangekyo Sharingan and disappeared with Shukaku. The Sunagaka camp was quiet, except for the ninjas who were guarding it and continuously patrolling. Suddenly, a huge shadow appeared and covered the moonlight that was falling on the camp. The patrolling ninjas looked up, and those at the edges saw what was falling, immediately shouting, "One Tail." The ninjas who were at the center were crushed and killed instantly. The impact of Shukaku's fall was so enormous that it was felt across the camp. Rasa also felt it and woke up from his sleep, immediately saying, "What has happened for such an explosion to occur?" After that, he came out of his tent and saw One Tail swinging its tail, destroying tents and killing many Sunagaka ninjas. And atop the beast, Uchiha Karen was standing with his Sharingan active, directly looking towards him. As soon as Karen made eye contact with Rasa, One Tail stopped and started creating a tailed beast bomb. Uchiha Karen used his Susanoo, and this time, the Susanoo of Uchiha Karen was in a half-humanoid form. Once Uchiha Karen's Susanoo was formed, he created Yosaka Magatama. As the tail beast bomb was forming, all three tomo of Yusaka Magatama covered the tail beast bomb, and Shukaku released it in Rasa's direction. Karen named the move Yusaka Magatama Tailed Beast Bomb. Uchiha Karen had one objective in mind while letting Shukaku fire the tailed beast bomb, and that was to attack the Kazakuji's tent, as most of the higher-level Sunagaka ninjas would be concentrated in that direction. As soon as Rasa saw the tailed beast bomb coming in his direction, he knew that it was impossible for him to defend against this attack. So, he covered a few of his trusted subordinates in gold sand and flew up into the air, positioning himself towards the back. He was aware that he couldn't fully avoid the shockwave of the tailed beast bomb, so he decided to retreat, or else he would surely get injured from the shockwave. Rasa had to outrun the tailed beast bomb, because it was covered in Yusaka Magatama, which further increased its speed. Finally, the tailed beast bomb made an impact with the ground, and exploded with a boom. Everything within a 40-meter radius from the tailed beast bomb was obliterated and vaporized, before anyone present in the tent could react. The impact was so powerful that even after being covered in gold dust, Rasa was affected by it, and thrown even further away with his few trusted subordinates. Finally, when Rasa landed, he saw the destruction caused by the tailed beast bomb, and noticed that everything was vaporized within a 40-meter radius. He was shocked because it wasn't the first time he had seen the destructive power of the tailed beast bomb from the One Tail. As a student of the third Kazakuji, he had witnessed the third Kazakuji suppress the One Tail multiple times, and on 2 occasions, he had seen the One Tail use the tailed beast bomb, causing considerable destruction. However, this current level of destruction was on a whole other scale. Suddenly, Rasa felt something, and the gold dust around him moved, attacking towards his behind. Rasa turned around and saw Karen standing there, which surprised him. Karen was standing on the head of Shukaku just before Rasa was thrown backward. It was evident that Karen hadn't used the body flicker technique. Instead, he must have employed space-time techniques. What surprised Rasa even more was that his attack went directly through Uchiha Karen, without harming him in the least. "Don't think too much, Kazakuji. Your attacks will not affect me," said Karen. "Just stand here and watch the show I'll put on for you and your trusted subordinates," said Karen as he raised his hand, and used his space control ability to create a space confinement. All the space around Rasa was blocked, and he felt that something was wrong as he couldn't sense anything few centimeters away from him. He extended his hand outward, but it was stopped as if a transparent wall had been erected around him through which he could only see. "What did you do? Let me out," shouted Rasa, but there was no response. Karen disappeared, and Rasa only heard, "Watch the good show that I have prepared for you." After that, what the Kazakuji saw was something that he would remember for life: a total massacre by Uchiha Karen and Shukaku, in a completely crushing battle. Shukaku was merely using the wind release, drilling air bullet, but even then, he was effortlessly destroying the ninjas of Sunagaka as if they were nothing. Upon seeing the Kazakuji trapped, the ninjas of Sunagaka wanted to help, and some even reached the place. However, no matter how hard they tried, they were unable to break through the space barrier created by Uchiha Karen. Rasa's voice didn't even come out from the space barrier created by Uchiha Karen, so he wasn't able to say anything. The ninjas were trying their best by using different ninjutsu, but every jutsu failed. Suddenly, Uchiha Karen appeared using teleportation in front of Rasa, and killed all the ninjas present. Although Rasa didn't have full authority and military power, he is the Kazakuji, after all, and for the prosperity of Sunagaka, he can go to any lengths. However, seeing so many ninjas dying in front of him, he was feeling despair. After that, the massacre continued for the next few hours, and on the battlefield, only the corpses of Sunagaka ninjas remained. Rasa was a stone-hearted person. That's why he didn't break down like his subordinates who were sitting on the ground beside him in despair. Out of the 4,000 Sunagaka ninjas, 3,000 were killed in the battle with Uchiha Karen, and the remaining 1,000 ninjas ran away after witnessing the massacre by Uchiha Karen. Most of the time, when dealing with weak genins and chunins, Uchiha Karen did not even use much ninjutsu. Instead, he defeated them simply by using his swordsmanship. The whole battle was used by Karen to hone his battle instinct and test how powerful he is without using ninjutsu, but purely based on his physical strength and swordsmanship. After killing so many ninjas, Karen didn't even have a spot of blood on his body. He walked up to Rasa and removed the spatial barrier. As soon as he did, Rasa was waiting for this chance, and immediately used a huge amount of sand to envelop Karen. But as before, nothing happened, and Karen said, "Don't waste your time, Rasa. You won't be able to harm me even in your dreams after today, let alone in a real battle." After saying that, Uchiha Karen placed his hand on Rasa's shoulder, and before Rasa could react, he was sucked into a spatial vortex and disappeared from the place. Uchiha Karen looked towards Baki and the other subordinates of Rasa and said, "I am taking your Kazakuji with me. If you want him alive, then come to the Uchiha clan to negotiate for his life, Sunagaka." And that's the end of this episode. The series will continue in the next part, So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share, and comment down below. This really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, we'll be seeing you in the next part. Check out these videos right here for more awesome isekai anime content.